Hello, my name is Danielle Spurlock, and I am at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Today, I will be presenting some preliminary findings for a larger project looking at nutrient management in the Falls Lake watershed. This project is specifically looking at the barriers to the implementation of decentralized stormwater control measures through the lens of street-level bureaucracy. Street-level bureaucracy refers to the agencies and individuals responsible for implementation, which is in short where data and policy becomes action. This project specifically examines the opportunities and barriers that exist in relationship to stormwater control measures and private property. Due to COVID-19, this round of interviews has fewer participants who are solely community members, which is the focus of our current work. For this presentation, I will review the project's research question, briefly summarize the methods, and spend the majority of the time presenting preliminary findings. I will end with policy implications and next steps. Using a virtual format, it can be helpful to have some idea of the emerging themes or the bottom line up front. For barriers, in the Falls Lake watershed, tensions based on geography and scale and a siloed approach to stormwater management complicate the implementation of integrated watershed management. For opportunities, there is extensive programming focused on students' awareness of water resources at a variety of educational levels. This programming could be expanded and tailored to adults to help create a shared problem definition. There is also an opportunity to expand our problem definition beyond nutrient management, which would support a systems approach to water resources. The research question guiding this project is, what are the barriers and opportunities to integrating stormwater control measures into the built environment? Stated slightly differently, what are the factors that influence the implementation of policies, plans, and programs focused on nutrient loading and water resources? In essence, how do we move from data to action? For the methods of this project, we conducted interviews. In total, we are at 35. We've looked at the state, regional, and local levels, looking at and speaking to individuals who are both at non-governmental and governmental agencies, as well as developers and consultants. After we conduct these interviews, which range between 30 minutes and 90 minutes, we transcribe these interviews and then complete content analysis. The themes that are the basis for our thematic analysis are informed by the Jordan Lake nutrient study and existing scholarship. Geographic scale, rural versus urban, large versus small jurisdictions. I use versus intentionally to reflect the tension that exists at the geographic level that is a barrier to collective action to protect water resources. There are persistent beliefs about agriculture's role in nutrient loading from both the rural perspective and the urban perspective that can limit action. Rural participants felt that the previous activities to reduce agriculture's role in nutrient loading were often ignored by urban participants and created some larger tensions, while urban participants often highlighted agriculture as a place where more focus was necessary. For large versus small jurisdictions, those contributions in our interviews came under the themes of capacity to implement regulations and commitment to different development patterns. Larger jurisdictions have staff and budget to advance their interests, while smaller jurisdictions have less money and staff to work with. However, these smaller jurisdictions do not want the larger jurisdictions to come in and tell them what to do, even as these larger jurisdictions are using Falls Lake as a water source. Their outsized influence and desire to have some say in what smaller jurisdictions can and cannot do with their land is creating this tension because smaller jurisdictions want the same pathway to growth that larger jurisdictions had and often resent the restrictions to their economic prosperity that can be promised through development. These two themes intersect and can amplify each other. Problem definition. A narrow problem definition often resulted in the siloing of issues where a systems approach is actually necessary. A number of participants discussed the creation of hierarchies where nuisance flooding or climate change take a backseat to nutrient loading. But these issues are interconnected and really resonate with community residents. There was also discussion about economic factors. Stormwater infrastructure investments were often derailed because of a price tag. But this does not reflect the benefits that can be associated with these projects. Scoring systems that don't account for long-term cost savings or benefits that are difficult to monetize. Connected to both is this larger question about goal setting that limits action. There's often very clear targets that need to be met with relationship to nutrient management. However, there's more benefits that could be secured if we took a more holistic view of those benefits rather than just less nutrients in the water. Community engagement. A number of agencies and organizations discussed a variety of methods in which they engage with the public. Many of these approaches tend towards awareness and consultation rather than collaboration and empowerment. These higher levels of bidirectional engagement are associated with stronger implementation. Many of the engagement activities focused on students at various levels. This is an important inroads that some adoptions around 911 or recycling really helped disseminate new behaviors throughout the population. However, the types of behaviors that we often are looking to adopt around nutrient loading, around water resources, are more complicated, so we may need to expand the types of engagement that we're supporting. The metrics defining success were often limited to quantitative measures, which again are not capturing the hows and whys that will help us better understand the behaviors and why people engage in particular behaviors that may not support the protection of water resources. Finally, there are significant barriers to collaborating with BIPOC communities due to past injustice, current gentrification, and a general disbelief that circumstances will change with local interventions. Policy implications. First, regional collaborations must acknowledge power differentials and seek to resolve those fundamental conflicts. Without those steps, our pathway to collective action may be undermined at a smaller scale. There's a need to expand our problem definition to allow for a systems approach. This will expand the amount of complexity, but at the same time will help ensure and support implementation as we have a broader understanding of what's happening. Finally, there should be a movement beyond informing and consulting to collaboration. Many residents in other portions of the study, in the Jordan Lake study, actually expressed a fairly high level of understanding about water resources and pollution. However, there were significant barriers when it came to altering their personal behaviors. Next steps. We're going to be doing interviews with community residents in the Falls Lake watershed. We're exploring Nextdoor as a recruitment tool to ensure that a wide range of residents are able to participate without previously being involved in nonprofit organizations or speaking at a public meeting. We're also exploring the creation of a household survey. Our interviews in Jordan Lake and Falls Lake will enable us to create questions that better explore themes that extricate values around environmental protection and the willingness to act. Finally, successful implementation begins with a shared problem definition, and that definition needs to consider spatial equity, environmental justice, and behavioral change. Thank you.